Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is a video today where we will be sharing a mock meeting and what it is like to meet with your legislators on Capitol Hill. My name is Kelly Barta. I am the Executive Director of the Coalition of Skin Diseases, and I'm here with Natalie Mamerow, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Natalie Mamerow. I'm so happy to be here. I am a legislative liaison with the National Alopecia Areata Foundation, and I'm so happy to be a part of CSD. I used to be a staffer on Capitol Hill for a member of Congress from my home state of Wisconsin. And I'm excited to share with you some of the kind of inside scoop of what to expect while you meet with your legislators and their staff on Capitol Hill.
Great. Thank you, Natalie. If you want to go ahead and share some of those things, I know many people who will be joining us for our Hill Day have never done this before. So sometimes it can feel a little intimidating or you're just not sure what to expect. So can you share with us what that will look like when we go to these offices
Sure.
and what are staffers actually thinking? Who is a staffer? What does that mean? And then how can our advocates be the most impactful and really stand out amongst the crowd?
Yeah, great questions. So, every member of Congress has a fairly small staff in Washington, D.C., probably anywhere from 8 to 10 people. And they're typically folks in their maybe 20s and 30s. And myself, was kind of fresh out of college. I had a liberal arts degree. And so I was actually not an expert on any of the policy issues that I was managing for the congressman. Every staffer typically manages a policy portfolio of anywhere from like 2 to maybe 6 or 7 policy issues. So I was meeting with constituents on everything from agriculture to transportation to the environment to Social Security to education. So staffers are typically a jack of all trades and what's the say now? A jack of all trades and a master of none. These are not typically people who have gone to school for, say, healthcare advocacy. They're sort of learning on the job. And I say that to say, don't be intimidated by staff. Um, Almost certainly, you are more knowledgeable about the issue that you're coming to talk to the staff about than the staffer is. And you are also almost certainly more knowledgeable about these issues than the congressperson themselves because they have their portfolio of policy issues is like infinite, right? It's huge. And so the staff is there to listen, to help, to take notes. Um, it's really a great way to try to connect with a staffer. So a lot of congresspeople hire staffers from the home state. Not always, but I'd say probably 50% of staff are from the state that they are working for. So I'm from Wisconsin and I worked for a member of Congress from Wisconsin. And so a way to do that is to like talk about the local sports team, or you can ask the staffer, oh, are you from Wisconsin? And they'll say, oh, yeah, I'm from Milwaukee. And you can be like, oh my gosh, I am too. What high school did you go to? And it's a small world. It's a great way to make connections. And I can't tell you how many times I talked to people who knew one of my aunts or went to school with a friend of a friend. And, there's like 6 degrees or 3 degrees of separation a lot of times. And anytime you can make those personal connections off of the bat, whether it's, you went to the same high school or the same college or you cheer for the same sports team, is a really nice way to break the ice and for the staff to remember you. Another thing to remember is, you're going to have a packet of information with a lot of numbers and statistics, and that can feel really overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, how am I going to manage remembering all of this while I'm in this meeting and I'm super nervous? And I'm telling you right now, you don't need to remember the specifics. The staffer is not there to listen to specific numbers and statistics. They are there to get to know you. You want them to remember you as a person and an individual. And the best way to do that is to be really genuine and to tell your story from a very personal perspective. The stories, the constituents that I remember the most are the ones that were very vulnerable and told me how a certain policy or legislation directly impacted their lives in a personal way, not with a $48.3 million or this is 10% of the budget. That's what follow-up conversation is about.
Mhm.
I guess the final thing I'll say is you don't have to know all the answers to their questions. In fact, it's really good not to know the answers to their questions sometimes because that gives you a wonderful opportunity to follow up with them in the future.
Mhm.
And so if they say, oh, do you know if this legislation is bipartisan? And you're like, I have no idea. It's okay to say, I don't know. And you
Mhm.
know what? I'll follow up with you.
Mhm.
And you are going to follow up with these staffers regardless to say thank you for meeting with me. And that's where you can answer some of their questions.
Mhm.
Some of the best relationships that I had with constituents, there would be, say, a vote coming up on a piece of legislation, and I would have to write a memo for the congressman. This is how this legislation impacts your district and your constituents, and I recommend that you vote, yes or no. And sometimes I had no idea, right? Because again, I didn't grow up on a farm. I don't know that much about agriculture, just what I learned on the job. And so I would think back, who are some of the farmers that I've met with in the congressman's district that I can reach out to, that I can pick up the phone and call, or I can email and say, hey, I really enjoyed meeting with you 2 months ago. There's this bill coming up on the House floor for a vote, and I'd like to see from your perspective how you think it's going to impact you directly. And that will help inform my decision for the congressman. And
Mhm.
that's what you want to strive for, is you want these staffers eventually to be comfortable enough and know you enough to reach out to you to say, how is this going to impact your constituency directly? And that's when you know you've really made a good connection. And I'll stop there.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Natalie. Super,
Sure.
super helpful. And as you were talking about doing the follow-up with any questions that, are posed that you may not know the answer to, I just want to let our group know the CSD will be there to help you with that. So if you're asked a question, you can reach out to us and we can provide that information for you just to plug into that email. But again, like Natalie said, the relationship is the most important piece, that they know you as a person, that they connect with your story, and they know why these different pieces of legislation matter to you. So it's really important to first understand, okay, here's my story. This is what I've experienced. Here's the ask that we're bringing with us, like whether it be around a piece of legislation or funding, which we will show for you in a minute. But then you learn how to incorporate that within your story. So it's kind of like a double punch. It's like you're making that human connection, but you're saying, and this is why you need to care. This is what we're asking you to do. So Natalie and I are just going to kind of play out a scenario where I'm going to be the staffer and she's going to be the patient advocate like you coming in. And she does such an amazing job. That's why I asked Natalie to be here on the call, because she really knows how to make those connections and make an impact, but also bring the information that we're asking for. So don't be afraid to ask. I will say too, don't be afraid to get emotional. I know sometimes it feels like, well, this is a professional setting and I don't want to like get a little teary or that feels embarrassing. Don't just take that off the table. As long as it's not a big, huge drama fest, you are there to be authentic. You're there to really, like I said, connect to another human being and let them know why they need to care. So that's okay. Just want to make sure that you feel comfortable going into that environment, and it's going to be great. And our office will be connecting with all of these different people beforehand with the packet that you have, all the information in there. So they'll have it. And then we'll be following up too. So just know you're sandwiched between lots of support. You're not alone in this. And we're here just to help make it happen together. So we're being a collective voice on behalf of all skin patients, which is pretty amazing that we get this opportunity. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So here we go. Curtains drawn. Hi, welcome, Natalie. Thanks so much for coming in today. How can I help you?
Yeah, thank you so much for meeting with us. Our group is with the Coalition on Skin Diseases, and my name is Natalie Mamerow. I actually grew up in Milwaukee. I don't know, are you from the state at all?
I am from the state. Yeah. And I
You
actually
are?
live in Milwaukee.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's crazy. Go Brewers. I was just at the
Yes.
game last
Woo!
week and the weather was amazing. We could not have asked for a better day.
Oh, I know. Wasn't it wonderful?
It was awesome. Well, anyway, I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with us. I'm with the Coalition on Skin Diseases, and I'm also with the Coalition on Skin Diseases also is part of the National Alopecia Areata Foundation, which is what I'm also affiliated with. I'm a legislative liaison, and I have alopecia.
Mm.
And do you know what alopecia is? Have you heard of it
I
before?
actually have not. Can you tell me a little bit about what it's like?
Yeah, so alopecia is an autoimmune disease where your autoimmune system attacks your hair follicles thinking that they're bad guys. And
Mm,
there's some people just lose a little bit of hair, some people lose all their head hair, some people lose all of their body hair, and
mm.
I don't have
Oh,
any hair.
oh, wow.
I have no head hair, I have no eyebrows, I have no eyelashes. That's why you see these fabulous fake eyelashes on me. Um, so this is me with this is alopecia and oh, I'll just pop this back on. Um, we're so happy that you took the time to meet with us so that we can tell you our story. Alopecia, I was diagnosed with alopecia when I was 14, which is a really tough time to be diagnosed with hair loss as a young woman. And
Yeah.
so I was very active. I played basketball in high school and I swam and I ran. And it was very difficult to hide all of my bald patches. And it really takes a hit on kind of your psychological state and your mental state. It takes a hit on your self confidence.
Mm,
And it was very difficult for me. And 9 years after being diagnosed with alopecia, I ended up losing all of my body hair.
oh,
And it was a really isolating time. This was actually before the internet, really. And
mhm.
I didn't know anyone else with alopecia. I felt like I was a total freak, like no one else had this in the world. I didn't talk to anyone about it really. It was a very, very lonely journey.
Mm,
And finally, when I was in my 20s, I met someone with alopecia for the first time, and I discovered I wasn't alone.
mm,
And I met this amazing community of alopecians who
mm,
I'm so grateful to know today.
mm.
And so I'm so happy to be here and to be on the other side and to show, the alopecian world and others that you can, not have hair and you can have a really happy, successful, fulfilling life.
That's amazing.
So, with all of that said, that is alopecia, and that's how it has affected me personally.
Mhm,
And I'm so happy to be with CSD because we have a series of legislative asks we'd like to give
mhm,
that we think would really support people within the Coalition on Skin Diseases community.
mhm.
I'm just going to stop there for a second because I've done a lot of talking. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do have some questions just because this is the first time I've heard about alopecia. Are there treatments for alopecia?
Yeah, that is such a great question and is a great kind of segue into what I'm going to talk about next. There are some new treatments that have just recently, in the past year or two, been approved. And they're part of the reason that these treatments have been approved and discovered is because of the National Institutes of Health, NIH.
Mm,
And this agency, this department is so important in discovering and researching and coming up with treatments across the board of skin diseases.
mm,
And so, specifically within CSD, we would ask that the congressperson support funding for the NIH at $51.3 billion
mhm,
in fiscal year 2024. And that's about a $300 million increase from the previous year. That
mhm,
money is so well spent because of funding for the NIH. We have treatments now. They're
mm,
not cures, but they're treatments
mm.
for people with alopecia and others in the skin disease community. So is that something that you think the congressperson can support?
Yes, definitely. My boss sees the real need for research. So that's amazing to hear that new treatments are coming down the line and are available for patients too. That's great. So yes, we will definitely voice our support in favor of the increase.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. We know that, thank you for your support. Thank you for the congressperson's support. That means so much to us. And I know that you've been supportive of these increases in previous years. And I
Mm.
just want to thank you and the congressperson for that support. It directly impacts my
Mm.
life and people like me with skin diseases.
Well,
And I hope that if you have any questions about NIH funding
mm.
or about alopecia or other skin diseases, that you will come to me and use me as a resource. I don't have all the answers, but I am part of a wonderful community and we can get you the answers.
Oh, thank you so much. So Natalie, thanks for sharing your story and
Yeah,
just letting me know a little bit more about what people with skin diseases are actually dealing with. So I really
thank you.
appreciate you taking the time and coming here to Capitol Hill.
Yeah, thank you. It was a wonderful experience and a great opportunity. And before we go, I want to
Yeah.
see if it's okay to take a picture with you in front of
Yeah.
your office so we can post
Yes.
it on social media.
Absolutely. And here's my card. So if you want to
Thank
stay in touch
you.
with me, please do and follow up with any other information that you might have that we need to
I
know about.
definitely will.
All
Go
right.
Brewers.
Go Brewers. Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you.
And that's how easy it is. You're just talking to another human being who is there to serve you. I think that's really important to remember that our government is set up in a way for constituents to go and speak to our policymakers in order to speak into the change that's made for our society. So thank you so much for being here today, Natalie. And we look forward to advocating with all of you on Capitol Hill.